Hey, it's Scott once again with Great Resources for Coaches. This is your midweek message, and coming to you on Wednesday. As I said, we're changing this up and no longer doing 2-minute Tuesdays and 3-minute Thursdays. We're just going to do a single post on Wednesdays. Still working out the details of a title for it and whether I even need one, quite honestly. And last week I talked to you about how I'm going to do these Wednesday videos either about the Friday post or not. Last week was about the Friday post. This week I'm not gonna do the thing on this Friday's post. You're just gonna have to read the post on Friday, and I think you'll like it a lot. In fact, I'm just gonna give you a little tease. There's a quote in there that starts it off from Jim Collins' book Good to Great, and he talks about how a professor of his once said that the greatest students or the best students don't quite believe everything their teacher tells them, their professor tells them. And it got me thinking how that's a really cool idea, and how, the idea that we need to challenge what we're being told and question it, and then how does that work for us as coaches, and how that affected me as a teacher and a coach through my years. And anyway, so check out the written post on Friday about that, because I think you'll like that a lot. But today, I've got all kinds of ideas going through my head as to what I wanted to talk about, and that becomes the message for today. We're going to constantly have different ideas, constantly have a variety of things running through our brains, or that we've actually written down. I wrote in my journal this morning. Each morning I do a morning routine now called the Miracle Morning, and part of that is journaling. And I have found that it's been so helpful for me in kind of crystallizing my day and helping get my day off on the right foot. And so for the last few months, I've been going through a morning routine. Check out the Miracle Morning on Amazon. It's outstanding. And it's really helped me kind of get things in order that I want to get in order from each day. So this morning, while I was doing the journal portion of that and the writing portion of that, I didn't know what I was going to write about. And I like that at times, especially when it's a journal. But, there's also a scariness as what's going to be on the other side. And 20 minutes later, I had 1,000 words written. And that blows me away when that happens, because it happens somewhat often. But I find that for some things, it's kind of neat to not have an idea what I'm going to do. And for most things, though, I think it's extremely important that we have it planned out, what we want to do and what we're going to talk about or write about, whatever it might be. Well, for coaches, it is critical that we have plans in place, that we have an idea as to what we're going to want to do. We don't want to be, quote unquote, winging it. And I'm going to talk about that concept of winging it in another post sometime, whether it's a written post or a video post, because that's been something that's been on my mind for over almost 20 years now. And when I tell you that when I do the post, when I write it or talk about it, you'll know exactly the situation that led to that concept of winging it being something important in my life. And that concept that we as coaches, we can't just wing it. We have to plan. We have to prepare. And so while this morning for me, I was not necessarily planning or prepared for what I ended up writing about, that's my journal. And in a journal, it's good to kind of let your thoughts just flow. It's often good to have a blank page, or for me, I've gone from page to computer screen. I'll probably end up going back to page at some point, but it's good to have an open page there where you just let things out and let it go. And that's when I sat down to do this video right now. I kind of had that concept going as well, because there were so many different things I considered talking about. But I knew one of them was this concept of planning, preparing, getting in a routine. My quote unquote miracle morning is a great routine for me that helps plan out the first part of my day. And so, as I said, I think it's been a critical piece to the last few months of me getting so much more done than I probably would have without it. And so there's a kind of a little plan for just the first half hour to hour of my day, but that's okay. It gets you going in the right direction. But for us as coaches, it's critical that we have a plan. It's critical that we have a season plan even a yearly plan. Okay, what are we going to do for the summer? Those of us who don't coach a summer sport, what are we going to do for the summer? Then what are we going to do for if we're fall sport coaches, our season? How are we going to plan out each the overall goals for and ideas for the season, but then the monthly, the weekly, the daily practice plans? For those of us who coach winter sports, what are we going to do in the fall to get prepared for the winter? Once our season starts, what are our plans looking like? Do we have the season broken down into a preseason, an in-season or early season, and then a mid-season and a late season, and then postseason? Do you have plans? Do you plan things out ahead of time? Do you do practice plans? Gosh, I hope you do practice plans. And I hope they're just not up here in your head. That's another one of those wing it things that I'll cover when I talk about that concept of, well, I just wing it. You have to get things written down, because while you might be the smartest person in the world, you might have the greatest mind for remembering things, you will still forget. You'll still forget certain things if you don't have them written down. And so it's critical that you have practice plans that are written out, not just on a little 3x5 card, although that can be okay, as long as you've got times and what you want done and the focus for it and things like that. Personally, I used to write them down in just on a paper long before the day of where I would have a personal computer to be able to do that. And that helped. And then I'd make copies for the future so that I'd have them in folders. But eventually, once we got to the day of the personal computer, that changed everything. I could put it on the computer, and now it's saved in files, and I have years and years of my practice plans on file. Not that I just take the practice plan and reuse it, but I take it and I look at them for each the weeks that I'm in to see, well, what did we do in the past, and what kinds of things did we do? There's certain drills that I might have forgotten, or what was that called? How did we do that? And so I'll go back. And so the key is I have it written out, because I'd already written it out, and so now I have it in a file that I can go back to and draw from. And so if I didn't write it out ever, if I didn't have a plan, it would be really hard to draw upon that experience. Yeah, there's things that I remember from all my years, 30 plus years of coaching, and I can remember certain things we did, but not as well as the things that I have written down and that I can then go back to and draw upon. So today, the point is, we must make sure that we plan. We must make sure that we're not just winging it and just kind of flying by the seat of our pants. There are times where that's beneficial, like when we're journaling, or when we're just in a moment where we just want to kind of go out for a hike, let our mind wander, whatever. But when it comes to coaching, when it comes to leading people, when it comes to teaching, we need to have a plan, and we need to be focused. And we need to make sure that we take that plan that we come up with and we apply it. Don't be chained to it, okay? You don't want to be a slave to your plan, okay? Because there are times where moments will happen where let's run with this thing. But we want to have some structure. We want to have something that says, this is what I want to accomplish in this time that I have set aside for whatever the activity is. So coaches, make sure you're planning things out and you're using your plan. So here I was without a plan for what I was going to talk about today, and I've gone over 8 minutes. So that either means I can just ramble, or the concepts that I had in mind were able to kind of fuse together and get focused and give a message that hopefully makes some sense to you and is helpful to you. So have a great rest of your week. Check out that Friday post, because I think you're going to like it. We'll talk to you next week.